Boom! What is up, Waves Capital? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're talking about some of the exciting price action that Bitcoin mining stocks have been experiencing lately. I want to talk to you guys about why I personally believe the bottom is officially in for not only Bitcoin miners, but for Bitcoin as well. And to follow up with that thought, I want to talk to you about why I also believe that a second wave to the upside is mounting on the horizon, not only for Bitcoin miners and crypto equities, but for growth stocks across the board. So exciting times for the Waves fam. Let's get into it, you guys. We'll quickly go over each of the tabs that I want to discuss with you, and then we'll dive into each one individually. All right. In front of us, the usual is TradingView, where we will of course be taking a look at Riot Blockchain. I want to talk to you about my September, October price targets and a few different price scenarios I see potentially playing out for Riot. But of course, if we're talking about Bitcoin miners, we got to kick it off with the king. We got to kick it off with Bitcoin, because ultimately the price action of Bitcoin miners like Riot and you name them, all Bitcoin miners, is going to be very, very heavily dependent upon the price action of Bitcoin and of course the greater equity markets like the S&P and NASDAQ as well. Okay, so today we are going to kick it off on the charts with Bitcoin, move on to Riot, talk about September, October price targets. I'll talk to you guys, of course, talking about Riot price targets over the coming month. Got to break down a few scenarios for Bitcoin as well, because once again, that just complements and supplements our price analysis for Riot. Okay, but you guys know the deal. We got to save the price action for the end of the video because we have to cover the existing fundamentals first. So because the focus of this video is Riot Blockchain, I do want to kick it off by reading over Riot's recent production update. Okay, so on September 7th, or September 6th, I guess, the tweet we're going to be looking at is on the 7th, but on September 6th, Riot announced their 2022 August production and operations update. There's some good stuff in here. We'll quickly read over these, just because if you guys are invested in Riot, if you guys have been a holder and follower of Riot for a long time, which I assume many of you have, like myself, this is good stuff to know, okay? And especially during times where things are slowing down, it's easy to be feeling bearish, and most people are feeling bearish. It's really important to focus on the fundamentals and remember why you invested, why you traded a company in the first place. And again, a lot of you guys know I've been in Riot. I've held a major bag of Riot and still hold a lot of those same shares today that I did when I first bought them back in 2017. Okay, so longtime fan of Riot, and it's just so awesome to see the progress that they're making. Okay, on top of this, I want to shout out the tweets. They pretty much just reiterated and summarized all of the metrics, that they shared in this production update. But I do want to let you guys know that there is a video on this tweet with the CEO. I guess we really don't have to look at this. I'll just shout this out now. But their CEO, Jason Les, always bets on the jockey as well as the horse, guys. Bet on the driver, not just the car, those analogies. But this is amazing. Again, if you guys are investors in Riot, I feel like this is a necessary due diligence. So go check out this video if maybe right after this or right now if you want to, but I'd appreciate it if you guys stuck around and watched this video. Okay, so we'll read through this. We'll take a look at Bitcoin and Riot on the charts, talk price action. But to actually kick off the video, I want to read over the piece or the write-up that I wrote and sent out in the newsletter from this morning. Amazing day for Riot Blockchain. Had to cover it in depth in the newsletter, and I figured I would share it with you guys as well. Okay, so Riot Blockchain, Bitcoin miners had an amazing day as we approach the end of this compressed trading week, go Labor Day weekend, and this activity was very encouraging to see when it comes to potential short to medium term price action. To my knowledge, there was no breaking news type catalyst that initiated this pop. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies overall are performing well, and Riot's August production update, which we will look at right after this, that we discussed yesterday was definitely positive news, but I think that the main reason Riot saw such significant upside today was due to small caps and growth stocks as a whole experiencing a fresh wave of optimism. This isn't only a good sign for Riot, but for the majority of our current positions as well. Let's hope that these are the initial ripples of the second wave that we've been patiently preparing ourselves for. Okay, so I'll just read over some of the price analysis that I wrote as well before we dive into the charts. But let's focus on the fundamentals. And you guys, if you are not yet subscribed to the newsletter or to Waves, like the real Waves Capital, the portfolio group, where I send out write-ups like this every day. This is part 2 of the newsletter. This is the second newsletter that I send out every morning called Price Targets. Today, for example, we covered ChargePoint, SoFi, Unity, Lithium Americas, Riot Blockchain, and good old Render Token, which is doing great as well. So if you guys want one of these, along with my Trade Alert newsletter, and a complete breakdown of my entire personal portfolio every single trading day, you guys. This is every trading day. That is just $15 a month. First link in the description box down below to get to this page. Click right here. You get everything you see in this description right here. And you can select whichever of these pricing plans you want. And of course, you can always unsubscribe. So again, if you're not subscribed yet, then I encourage you to at least give her a go. And again, unsubscribe if you don't want to. But I feel like you will be sticking around because, I mean, this is what I put the far majority of my time every day into. And this is, I mean, I really do have a lot of fun every morning writing the newsletter, and it's just more intimate, okay? So, again, if you want to join Waves Cap for real, step up your trading, investing game, and learn from my mistakes and failures, then first link down below once again. Welcome to the winning team if you do choose to check it out. That said, let's get into some of Riot's production updates, and then we can jump back in here once again and go back down. I don't really need to reiterate some of this, but I can just read through this, and then we'll dive into the charts and really expand before jumping into Riot, okay? So we'll read over this. We'll take a look at Bitcoin on the charts, go over here, and then close it out with Riot on the charts, all right? So Bitcoin production and operations updates. In August of 2022, Riot produced 374 BTC, a decrease of approximately 15% as compared to August of 2021, production of 441 BTC. While significantly reducing overall power costs through effective employment of its proprietary power strategy. So this metric did go down, but it's for a good reason. And once again, I do recommend you guys go check out this interview with the CEO because, again, you guys, just the team, but like the CEO, Jason Less, not first name basis, but Jason Less, doing a great job. And again, all of their actions, if you guys have been following along, you would understand are very intentional, and there is long-term rationale behind the decrease in current Bitcoin production, at least year over year for the month of August specifically. Riot earned an estimated $3 million in power credits as a result of curtailment activity to be credited against its power invoices. The $3 million in power credits equates to approximately 136 BTC, computed by using the August 22 average daily closing price of 22K. As of August 31st, 2022, Riot held approximately 6,720 BTC, all produced by the company's self-mining operations. That is a solid stack of Bitcoin. In August of 2022, Riot sold 350 BTC, generating net proceeds of approximately $77 million. Riot currently has deployed a fleet of 46,658 miners with a hash rate capacity of 4.8 exahash per second. Okay, so good stuff again, you guys. Go check out Riot's website. Go check out the tweet, watch the video if you're interested in further reading, but I feel like that's all the necessary diligence that's required, at least at this moment in time, for Riot specifically. Okay, so good stuff there. Again, we'll dive into Riot on the charts after this, but let's kick it off with Bitcoin. Okay, so Bitcoin, since breaking down from its ascending channel that it was in for quite a while, we have been in a consistent downtrend. Okay, so you can see here that downtrend, shorter term downtrend. Let's draw a trend line right now. Boop. Very strong downtrend. Did technically break out of it, but just kind of went sideways as we kicked off the month of September. Came up, didn't really come up though. Once again, just kind of went sideways. Came down, retested previous resistance as new support. And right now, we are facing a pretty significant scenario that will determine whether or not Bitcoin falls to new lows or makes its way back up to what I believe will eventually be about $26,000 to $27,000, but ultimately about $28,000. Okay, so I'm an optimist. My bias is towards the upside. Personally, just to break down why I think Bitcoin has bottomed out. If I think Bitcoin and the markets, the greater markets have bottomed out, then it only makes sense that I think Bitcoin miners have bottomed out. So these same principles apply to Riot Blockchain as well. You guys, the environment we're in, although shaky, although uncertain when it comes to the macroeconomics over the next year, the Fed, don't fight the Fed, of course, the Fed is raising interest rates. That is out of the question. The environment is very different. Okay, and it does not lend itself to another bull market, to new all-time highs. And I want to make it clear that I don't think the bull market is back. I don't think new all-time highs are coming for a very long time. But I do think that the bottom is in. I do think that all existing and foreseeable macroeconomic headwinds have been priced into the markets due to the fact that the markets are more efficient, they're more liquid, there's more information available than there's ever been. And right now there isn't really any curveballs. If a black swan flies in, which is like a completely unforeseeable event, of course, like COVID, that was a black swan event. 9/11 black swan event, just something tragic that sucks, that is completely unforeseeable. If that doesn't happen, then it's very likely that the majority of kind of worst case scenario macroeconomic headwinds, perfect example of this being a highly offensive Federal Reserve that raises interest rates more than people expect them to be. Even then, I still think that's priced into the markets. And I do think that next week, very busy week, I will be making a video talking about everything happening next week. Been talking about it in the newsletter as well. But there's a lot going on next week that will create a major catalyst for upside or downside. The August CPI data comes out, the Fed meeting, et cetera, the Ether merge. I think you would know if you watched my recent video on Ethereum and on the merge, kind of a deep dive. Go check it out if you haven't. I think that will act as a positive catalyst for the markets. I don't think that's a buy the hype, sell the news. I do think that will act as a genuine positive catalyst, okay? So, all that said, again, you guys, when we saw these sell-offs back here, there was like mass liquidations. There was over leverage from like 3AC, 3 Arrows Capital, Celsius, you name them, all the companies who were struggling and had to meet their margin calls and couldn't because they over leveraged themselves and they were irresponsible. Things are different right now than they were then. And again, unless a black swan flies into the picture, I think the worst is priced in. But again, that's just my opinion. So that said, Bitcoin currently in a downtrend, in an obvious downtrend. I guess has broken above, once again, the short-term resistance, retested previous resistance as new support. And I do think that we see some sideways price action over the next week or so, if I'm being completely honest. The reason I have 9/16 dated right here is because that is next Friday. That is a triple witching. Again, we'll talk about this more maybe on Sunday. Triple witching, where multiple like options contracts, futures contracts expire on the same day, creating for excessive volatility. More volatility in the equity markets, more volatility for Bitcoin because the two are so tightly correlated, I should say. And again, I've been making the argument for growth stocks, the bull argument for growth stocks, for a while. I do still think more upside mean reversion is necessary prior to any new lows. The same goes for Bitcoin, and I do think upside is in the cards. So what do I think is going to happen? Once again, I do think that eventually, maybe October, November, we are able to make our way back up to the previous macro cycle low on that overall downtrend, around $26,700 using the ultimate low candle wick here. But ultimately, probably making it back up to like 27, 28K. That could happen once again, October, November, maybe December. But over the course of the coming month, I do think that's some of the news, some of those macro catalysts that I just mentioned next week will create for upside, maybe not crazy upside, but for a little bit of relief, meaningful relief in growth markets, in crypto markets, and every pretty much financial asset. And I also believe the dollar will see a short-term correction because it's been absolutely ripping over the Dixie. So I do think that Bitcoin will be retesting the line of broken support on its previous ascending channel as new resistance, TA101. In the case that we come up and retest this previous support, this white line right here, on October 21st, which is another major options expiration day. So again, just increased volatility, just where I'm really setting targets for a lot of my growth stocks, my options plays, etc. Check out the portfolio, you guys would know that. But in the case that we retest this trend line on October 21st, that would take us up to $24,000. Okay, I think that's possible. Again, if we can break back up into this previous ascending channel, I think that will lend itself to some pretty exciting moves to the upside. But again, that's completely reliant on whether or not I'm right about the news catalysts and the macro catalysts next week having a positive impact on the markets. So please keep that in mind. I'm an optimistic guy. All right, let's close it out with Riot. I do have those same targets labeled right here, and I can actually read. I'll read this quickly and then just expand, okay? So, in the case that Riot can break above the 760 level, which is the previous high on its short-term downtrend, which is this red line right here. We can look at that, just go back and forth, I guess. This red line right here, the previous high on this short-term downtrend, then that is going to be bullish, okay? So right here, 760 on the dot. If Riot, as we close out this trading week, can see green tomorrow, maybe by the time a lot of you guys are watching this, if Riot sees green tomorrow, then it's very likely that the next wave up is initiated. You could almost say that this is a higher high on this uptrend, given the fact that this low right here is higher than this previous low on the uptrend. So high, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high. Technically higher, low. It's kind of a stretch, but if you want to get technical, that's the case. So, man, I hate that. But I do think that if we can break above, where is it, 760, that is very, very bullish for Riot. And ultimately, I do think I don't need to go back here, you guys. But again, if you want these daily newsletters, first link down below. If you do believe that Bitcoin will see upside, I forgot to change that one. If you do believe that Bitcoin will see continued upside, if you agree with my sentiment, the bottom is in, then from a technical perspective, it makes sense that Riot does come up to test this previous line. Again, similar scenario to Bitcoin, TA 101, base fundamental principles of technical analysis. Test the previous line of support on this very sharp ascending channel. So this is especially optimistic, I will say that. Test the previous line of support on this ascending channel, this lower cyan line right here, as new resistance. In the case that we see it on September 16th, which is highly optimistic. You know what? I will read this because I just addressed this. Do I think we can climb 55% in the span of a single week? I mean, we just climbed almost. When I double click on my mouse, that happens. I'm sorry, guys. We just climbed almost 15% in a single day, and this is some optimistic thinking, but it's a possible scenario for sure. Okay. So once again, very, very optimistic to believe that we climb 55% over the next week. But hey, it's Riot Blockchain. It's possible. We've seen it happen in the past. I mean, you look over here. We've seen it happen before. I think I think a second wave up is in the cards. Talking a lot, you guys. Sorry. I think a second wave up is in the cards for, once again, not only Bitcoin miners, but for growth stocks overall. And I think it's going to get pretty exciting come next week. Okay. A lot of people think the lows are in. There's like record shorts out in the market right now. Hedge funds are record short the markets. And, you know, when there's record shorts, I think that's also a reason that Riot and Marathon Digital also saw some impressive price action today. Was the market is so shorted right now that high short interest lends itself to short squeezes, or just, again, shorts having to cover their asses by buying shares, ultimately driving up the price. In the case of the market see relief next week, I think there will be some short squeezes, and I think there will be some meaningful upside, given the fact that I think most of the macro headwinds are priced in. Okay, so in the case that Riot tests this trend line that we're talking about on September 16th, again, options expiration day, that'll take us to about $11.60. In the case that we test it at the next big options expiration date, October 21st, that'll take us up over 2x from here to about $15, where realistically I believe Riot belongs. Okay, so there will definitely be, just keep this in mind, there will definitely be some significant resistance around here, this previous macro low from the beginning of this year, around $13. So if I was trading this personally, which I actually am, I would personally take profits, even if it does take a while for this to test. I'd personally take profits at about $13.20. And hey, if that intersects, if this previous line of support intersects with this previous low, that would take us to September 30th, or a nice $13 target as we head into the month of October. All right, so that's that, you guys. Again, if you want daily updates on all the names that I just covered in this portfolio or in this newsletter right here, you want to know how I'm trading on a day-to-day basis, it's the first link down below once again. But if not, no worries at all. I appreciate you guys watching this, and let me know in the comments down below what you think about Riot Blockchain. Are you bullish? Do you think the bottom's in? And of course, please explain your thoughts. So I'll see you in the comments downstairs. Until next time, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.